Welcome to the Fotobook Museum, ladies and gentlemen, and dear Photobook lovers. We're sending and broadcasting tonight live from Cologne. We are here in our new studio. We have set up a pop-up studio for our sessions, Let's Talk sessions, a new program. We call it PBM Radio. It's a kind of a new 4 sessions program we will do over the next months. Tonight we have the first session, which is based on a book called Manzana de Adan. It's Adam's Apple, and we will talk with 2 very nice guests we have live here from Santiago de Chile and from New York City, from the Bronx. And we will step a little bit in this book, which is a famous book in the history of Chilean history. And maybe I will welcome for sure, on one hand, our great technical team from Foto TV. It's Sebastian and Akadi. Thank you. If any technical problems, I have to talk to them, so forgive me for that. And for sure, we have our chief curator and the very famous Mr. Frederick Lesme here on my side. Frederick, thanks you. Frederick, hi Fred. Frederick will guide me tonight a little bit through different things, and he is the book DJ this night. So we will give you a chance also to look a little bit through the book we will talk about. And also I have to say in the end, we are gonna maybe 45 minutes to talk about the book by Paz Errázuriz, Adam's Apple, and then you have also the chance to give some questions in our YouTube channel. So please subscribe the channel. You can just write your messages here. Fred will check it, and I hope we will have a chance to give these questions to our guests tonight. So we have this, we have that, and we also have to check out why we do this kind of Let's Talk evening. The Fotobook Museum, in cooperation with the European Society for the History of Photography, we did a magazine called I'm Shocked, the reception on Photobooks. You see, this is my copy here. And we focused on the reception, and one of the articles in this thing is made by Mr. Luis Weinstein about this book. So we have Luis here as guest, but now we first, ladies first, we will welcome, moment, I have to check here, Ángeles Donoso Macaya, live from the Bronx. I have to check here a little bit here, my thing. Ángeles, hello, you are live in New York. Welcome.
Hello, hello.
I introduce you a little bit. You are associate professor for studies in New York, and right now I think you have it in your hands. Recently you published a book called The Insubordination of Photography. It is about documentary practices of Chile's dictatorship. Ángeles, just a quick note on the book. What is it about?
Well, the book, thank you for the invitation, Markus.
And you're welcome, Ángeles.
So happy to be here. The book is a study about the photographic field that was formed and that emerged under dictatorships. So it argues that under super extreme constraints and despite all the limitations, this photographic field emerged to denounce, all the atrocities that were committed by the military dictatorship, and it was a field that was formed concomitant to the field of art, but of course it's bigger than and also independent from that artistic field. So in the book I try to study practices that normally had not been considered by photographic criticism or by art history, critics when it comes to study photography. Yeah, so basically I think that's the book in a nutshell.
Yeah, great. This is the book in a nutshell. And I have to say, congratulations for this. You just get a prize called the Best Book in Latin American Visual Cultural Studies. Fred, can you show the book maybe for the audience here? It is available in Europe. Check it out, please. And it will be at the end, if we have browse a little bit to our Adam's Apple book, maybe we can come back and you give us a little bit more inside views on this aspect of photo books. So the other guest I need to welcome is Mr. Luis Weinstein. Hello, Luis.
Hello, Markus.
Hello, Luis. So good that you're here from Santiago de Chile. I have to say, Luis is an old, I can say, an old friend of us. We had some time in Krakow on an exhibition, and we were showing at this time called the show Esto Ha Sido, and this is one of several books Luis made. I have here a few. Maybe, Fred, you can show the covers. This was the book we made in Krakow. We had good memories, Luis. It was a great time.
Very good.
And basically a series about books he did about the Chilean dictatorship. Maybe we have a chance to look at this. And Luis is not only a photographer and not only also a weatherman in the Chilean TV, he is also a great man of the Latin American photo book. And in collaboration with the great Horacio Fernandez, he also co-published a book about Chile, Fotolibro Chileno. How long is this? How long ago did you make this, Luis?
Well, this was done like 2 years ago, 3, pandemic, time to split between your hands. And just once again, I wanted to, first of all, thank you, Markus, and all the team at the Fotobook Museum, which are close friends of mine. I enjoy so much your work. And this said, I think that inspired by you guys, in a way, I got very much involved in this idea of the Fotobook. And Chile Fotobuch is a collaborative work we did here in the Fundación Sud Fotográfica, a non-profit. And we had the great pleasure of having Horacio Fernandez, who is a great editor and a force behind all the stories and the studies on the photo books. So, we managed to put this together, and we're very happy to make these archives available for everybody. They are free on the internet, of course, and we have this great published version. Hopefully, one day we'll have an English translation as well. But that's it. We tried to see how the photo book was very intertwined with our history, and so it's chronologically made, and you can read in a sort a history of our country through the production and publication of photo books in different realms.
Wow, so thank you for that. It is really an adventure to browse it. Hard for us if we can't read it, really, because it's in Spanish. For sure, one of these books, which in a way is a part of the history of Chile, not only in terms of these times in the dictatorship, but also because the photographer who made this is a very close friend to you, Luis. Her name is Paz Errázuriz. Was this right? Errázuriz.
Right.
So I tried it. So, and you made a choice for this book to bring it in our publication and to look on the reception and the influence the book had. And we have a widespread on different things. It has not only a live as a very personal story, because Paz, maybe you can introduce us a little bit in her photographic life. And then I think we will step a little bit in the story of the book itself. We'll make a little afterlife and look then in the end together with Ángeles a little bit on the political aspects on Latin American photography in general. And Fred, here is the book. And Luis, it's on you. Maybe we make a little description. I started, maybe you can tell us a little bit the story. Let me just make a citation of what you wrote in the Photo Researcher. You wrote, the book in a way has a very simple structure. It's not a coffee table. It's made under productions in Chile, which were very difficult. And for sure, the book also was a fully economic disaster, for sure. History which he shares with a lot of other books.
Hello? Hello?
Luis, are you still there?
Hello.
Oh,
hello.
Luis, we lost Luis.
I lost the communication.
We can hear you, Luis, but let me maybe.
Hello.
Oh, we got
Hello?
Luis Ángeles is lost a little bit. I think also
Hello?
Ángeles I don't hear.
Maybe
okay. We can flip.
I'm back.
You're back.
You're back.
Luis, welcome back, Kurator.
I'm like a photo book, you see. It goes and comes and so it's been
Okay,
edited.
you see, it is a big adventure to make.
Let's get it.
Yeah. So, I take the chance we have you now.
Paz Errázuriz is a great photographer, I might say. I have the chance to know her quite well now. We've been friends for, I don't know, maybe 40 years. And we have been in many places together, and it's someone I really like to be with because she knows so many things, and she has such an interesting point of view from a photographer's point of view, and mostly as a woman struggling to work in the photography field in Chile. Paz is a self-taught photographer. I think that defines her very much, since what you see is something that she achieved on herself. She really struggled a lot, I would say, to do the different projects in which she's been involved. This one took her, like, I would say, something between 8 or 10 years maybe in between one thing and the other, and doing it was very intense experience for her, as she has told us. In the book, you see a main story of a family of male prostitutes. And the book is dedicated to the mother of this sibling.
This is Mercedes.
And here you see her with one of her son's daughter, and you see that they have a very intense relation. And I think one of the high points with this book is that you're seeing a book of a marginal people, of male prostitutes, transvestites, working in a province capital in Chile during the military years. So it's like you're looking at the bottom of the social structure. And this woman, from a bourgeois intellectual milieu, went there, and she got involved with them, and she became friendly. And through all this relation, she began to take pictures slowly one after the other, just without putting all her powers as the social empowerment, as the one with the camera and the one in the social ladder upper than them. And I would say that she achieved this kind of horizontal relation with them, where I think they felt quite comfortable with her, in the sense that they showed that she was taking the pictures because she cared about them.
Yeah, it's
So
a.
they are not people just taking like that to be shown in the public plaza as freaks, but exactly the opposite. She will show us that these people that were marginalized and I don't know, shown the pointer of your fingers, like saying you are to be blamed, and she says exactly the opposite of that. So you see the human beings, the family relations, the really hard lives they have been through. But what is I think is very interesting from the point of view of making a photo book is that she worked from the beginning, taking the how to say the recordings of what the life was about. So this project is bypass, and it was designed by her and thought by her. But here the work by Claudia Donoso, who was the teammate of Paz at that time, is very important too, because she managed to put together this text, and you go through, and as you begin to read it, you you have a very special feeling of these lives. So I think the way that Paz, in a way, made herself transparent, that you feel really that you are inside the lives of these people, is something that Claudia also achieved herself as well, in the sense that she gives us this like a first person impression of what their life, and it's so cleverly edited that you really start to you realize in a few sentences, in a short paragraph, very simple one, a very very well told story about what life in those years was, and what life with this for these people really marginalized in our society in many many ways. And even what I would say, what was the left establishment, I mean, being in the trans and being a prostitute in those years was barely acceptable. And so I think this is a very, very important side of this work.
Ángeles, when did you first approach the Adam's Apple book, and do you share also the same view from your perspective on this book, or what were your personal impression on Adam's Apple?
I would like to highlight, I mean, of course, I agree with what Lucho was saying. First, that, well, the process, right? I mean, we see now an object, a final photo book that you are showing with your camera, and people can look at it. And it's a finalized product, but that of course took years in the making, right? And there's an ethics that it's very important. And Lucho was talking a little bit about this, that it's Paz approaches these very liminal spaces in a way that it's very unique, in that there's so much respect and dignity for the people that she's photographing, so that that the people in front of the camera feel very comfortable. And because of the way that the book is edited, right, that you have the stories at the beginning, and these are horrible. I mean, the trauma, the violence that marginalized groups such as, transvestites, sex workers experience, even today, so in that sense, this book is very, very, very much pretty contemporary in a way. It's not a, I mean, it's a historical document in a way, but it also speaks very much to the present. And I say this, and I have to say this because right now, around the world, and at least, you know, in the US it's very important, in Chile also, and I know that in Germany as well, we are in Pride Month, right? This weekend marks the end of Pride Month. And for years, there have been groups of, especially queer folks, you know, and trans people, saying that they need to reclaim this month, right? Because the trans people, transvestites, you know, and people of color in the U.S., for instance, they were critical in that movement in the 70s and 80s, and this is also the decade with AIDS hit, right? And the same happened in Chile, and these groups of people are still being marginalized. So in that sense, I think this book talks about a violence that persists, right? Sex workers, and particular trans sex workers, are always, you know, discriminated against just because the way they look. So all of this, I think, when you open the book today, these are things that come to mind, at least to me. Also, I would like to highlight the work of Claudia Donoso. As Lucho was saying, you know, Claudia was a journalist. She also did many, I remember reading when I was doing the research for my book, you know, she did a lot of pieces, articles for the independent magazines where she was working about, you know, sex workers, about domestic workers, because we see there's a kind of very limited offer of places where, for instance, trans people or transvestites can work, right? So we see in that introduction, and if you read or in Spanish, or if you read the English text at the end, that many sex workers, prostitutes, decided it was so dangerous to keep in that line of work, that the other option was like the bartending or, you know, domestic work. So there's not too many options. And that's today, I mean, still the case today. So I would also like to emphasize that. And finally, I would say that I really, really appreciate the way that book is constructed, because and not because I prioritize the text over the images, on the contrary, but I think that to become familiarized with these stories at the beginning, you know, like you're reading about Evelyn, you're reading about Mercedes, you're reading about Hector, and then you get to see the images. So you immediately see the images in a different light, right? Because you know, because of the way Paz photographed, you know, these friends and these groups of people and these relatives and their relationships, and because the way that they tell the stories to Claudia, there's a particular way in which these stories affect the viewer as well. It humanizes them, absolutely, right?
Yeah.
So yeah. I don't know if that answers the question.
Yeah, thank you so much. I think this makes the book on one hand also very special. If we compare it to other books, and there are a few about sex workers, also transvestites, transgender people, even in the past. And for example, if we look on work by Susan Marcellus or Nan Goldin, so we can for sure compare, but from my perspective, discovering the book, it is this very personal, very, very personal approach. And the text blocks telling the story, and this is what really makes me feel very close also to the people in the end, is the relationship to Mercedes, that it is not really a pure documentary about their work. And finally, the work could have been also very interesting, because as I know the story, that they moved from Santiago de Chile to the countryside, and want to have a little bit more safe room maybe, but became also under pressure. So we have these gauchos coming to as clients to this brothel. So it did not really change. And I think this level of personal documentary, and even that it is not look like a book which is on a worldwide book market on the first class level to discover. And as I remember, Luis wrote it also in the text here, is, and that is what I love to talk about with you again, if there is this kind of you will of book, of photo book, and it is not established on international parquet, on the audience. So what is to do? And I remember, Luis, you wrote that when you saw Evelyn, the lady from the cover, next to a Richard Avedon book on a Foto España exhibition, it hits you in a way because you could see, okay, it is on, it arrived on another level. But still, it is not that Paz Errázuriz book is well known. We have, and we have to say, maybe we can show this. We have, there is a reprint, even with more color work by a foundation in Chile. I hope this is available. Here we see a cover. And for sure, Paz became a few bigger exhibitions in Australia and a very big retrospective called Another Kind of Life at the Barbican in London. And for all viewers, we have a playlist on our YouTube channel. There's a very nice 3.5 minutes feature by Paz herself explaining it. Please have a look and keep yourself informed about that. But if we look in the future, Luis, how do you would act with the book and the work itself to give it more audience? Do you think, Luis, that there is a chance to push this book in the foreground in any ways?
I think, yeah, of course, there is a lot of space out there for this book to conquer. This said, when we were on this idea of reception of photo books, I kept thinking myself, should we measure it through the market? I mean, of how many copies were sold? Of course, it's a number. It's very important. But today, with the internet and other ways of ideas, of images circulating in the world, surely the metrics have changed in that sense. The reception of this has or did not have too much of circulation in its own time. But the fact that today we are talking of a book that was actually published in 1990 says a lot. So this is one of the virtues of the photo books. I mean, compared to the exhibitions, for example, that they're still there. No, they work this idea of the message in a bottle that goes floating, and then eventually you get it in the shore of some beach somewhere. No, so that's thinking of Ángeles there in the blue sky.
Yeah, the blue sky.
But I'm saying that this book has meant a lot of things. I mean, there are now trans activists that work with it. They have just the photocopies since the actual book is so hard to find. But still, these images are still working in a sense. They are keep functioning. No? On the other side, you have one movie that's been just made. Some months ago, it went into Cannes and different festivals, and all the imagery, the art direction was done thanks to this book by Paz. So they got inspired how things looked like thanks to this book. So it's very much alive in different levels. And about the reception, I think what is very important is not only the quantity, but of course, certainly the quality. I mean, the fact that trans activists feel that they may work with these images as a source of activists says, I mean, for me, it says a lot. So I understand very much when Paz says that this book is a really special one for her because of this. So of staying so much alive in the marginal lives of people. No?
Ángeles, we know of the afterlife of this book has been made a movie. What was inspired by the whole setting, by the people, and it's not easy to find. I think the movie shows up and was very successful. Ángeles, do you think that the inspiration on the movie is also something which could be a new kind of powerful life, the mixing between photography, the movies, the arts? In your studies, you can discover something like this?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, first, there's a plane going, so maybe you will hear. First, just to piggyback on what Lucho was saying, I think it's also important to mention that Paz was the first Latin American women photographer to being awarded a Guggenheim Award, right? A Guggenheim Fellowship. This Guggenheim Fellowship that she was awarded in the late 80s actually allowed her also was part of the book production, right? Like, because making photo books, of course, it costs money. So there's a whole also, I mean, geopolitical discussion, to have about the circulation of photo books and about the impact that these objects can have abroad or within, depending on, because also you have to measure what is your abroad and what is your within, right? So, for instance, the fact that maybe this photo book was not very well known outside of Chile or in Europe or in the United States says very little about the quality of the book or about the significance of the work, and very much about how everything works, in terms of like North and South and relationships. So, and so I think that we also need to maybe take a step back, and when we study these phenomena, because we tend to study it from a center and from a north, right? It's like, oh, this book is now being known in Europe, so now it's more important. But it's like, what? Like, we really need to turn that hierarchy upside down, I would say, or dismantle it, right? Because I think photography. There are many photographies, or many histories of photography. So we cannot keep thinking in terms of like when things from the global south are discovered or are studied or are appreciated in the north as having more importance or significance. In general terms, not only about this book. And with regards to your question, I think it's that also speaks to the force of photography and to this, what I call in the book, the expanding field of photography, right? Like, so the expanding field of photography, it's not only the photographs, it's not only photographic books, and it's not only the work or the labor of photographers, but it's also all those practices and all those lives that photography as a medium and as a practice that it's shared by many people, not only experts, not only photographers or photograph producers, share. So the fact that photographs from a book can inspire a movie, or can be modeled, or become a kind of source for aesthetics, or for a discourse, I think it also it's part of this logics of photography in general, right? Like as a medium that can reproduce itself, that allows for infinite copies to be made. And also to transform itself. So not only the photographic image, but also as a practice, also as a 3D representation, right? What happens when a photograph becomes then a painting and then becomes a statue? Or I'm thinking also, for instance, the famous photograph by Susan Meiselas, right? That from an icon, it also became a statue. So the photograph became a statue in Nicaragua. So in this way, this photo book, these images then become a source of inspiration for activists, and they model themselves after these images. So that's very interesting, I think.
Thanks, Ángeles. I'm totally with you, and I found one sentence here in the magazine from Lewis, which I really impressed, and I think this let us all think about that. Maybe this kind of Western way from the North down to the south, to the east, that it is this kind of way how we establish. And your sentence here means that this kind of cultural construction ignores our third world production, with the exception sometimes of the exotic that enters the mainstream. So means finally, I think this is like, if you really think about this point, I think it is clear that the way how we look at the production of all the output, also with a kind of a Western ignorance, just to be here in our coffee table culture, I would say, not really coffee table culture in a way, but to accept even a book like The Adam's Apple, which is not follow the total rules of production, of styles, of sequencing, of design. You can feel all the energy, I feel even with the paper that it is this personal storytelling. And I hope maybe that, Ángeles and Luis, that to discover this kind of books also change a little bit our mind, our view, even to respect and to discover also new ways. And if you go, I have to say, to the Fotolibro Chileno, maybe there, for my personal feeling, it's like 80 books or 80% of the books are not following classic ways of Western production. And I think what we also do now, it is also like a message to discover and to be interested in the work, especially now in this kind of transvestite story, the minorities, as you said, Ángeles, before. So this kind of circulation means, I think, not to put Parsons' work and establish it here in on a certain level. We would love to, because for sure it can stand next to Richard Avedon, the famous Evelyn picture. It already becomes an icon. But on the other hand, maybe it's also the first step, and we have to open maybe and look detailed on the stories. Maybe we should, for sure, we buy a copy of your book, Ángeles, there's no question. This is a study we have to follow, and that we take over this point of view. And I think it is often a little bit on this kind of ignorance to say, okay, the production is not that good or whatever. So I think that the kind of afterlife of Paz Errázuriz book could be maybe just a starting point now, and not only to bring on the same level. No, I think more like to discover also things. So also for the audience, 2 points. The book itself, it's very expensive and hard to find. Thanks to all my Facebook friends who helped me to find a copy in New York to buy and to get it here for the magazine. And so we're proud to have a copy. The reprint, I have to say, made by the foundation, also includes a little bit, I see Luis already searching for it, includes also very interesting color work, which he done, which is maybe a nice little detail to come back to the book, is that this is Evelyn, by the way, that the people in the book, they did not really like the black and white pictures, Luis, this is right, né? So, and I loved the little note that they got black and white prints by Paz as a gift, and then they started to decorate the prints with colorful flowers and colored paintings. So I like it that it's now also including this fantastic color work. And look here, né? So we had this book also in the black and white section. Thanks for showing it, Luis. So we have here a reprint. Is it still available, Luis?
I think so. I bought mine not long ago through the internet. It was buscalibros.cl. And well, it was available, and it came through the mail, and I was amazed.
Yeah, it's
I
fantastic.
was
Maybe
thinking it was out of whatever. So
so.
I
I
got
hope
my
this will not be
copy.
out of print too soon. We don't
Yeah,
have a
yeah,
copy
yeah.
here, also, but I think this is the next start also to discover her work. Finally, not to forget also to say that there is also a book made by Aperture. It was a show by the Fondation MAPFRE, and it's also a first good step into her work. I think it's here in Europe, the Western world, available. For sure, it includes a lot of work from the Adam's Apple section. Here are already also some color works. And then if I don't, yeah, maybe Fred, you can show a few images from this book. It's a first step into the work of Paz. Luis,
Yeah.
do you think how does Paz look on her own work? Is she happy with the rediscovering the Adam's Apple book?
Um, she's really thrilled to see that you guys are so happy to see her work. I think it's quite an achievement finally, no? Even though the images took so long to get to some kind of mainstream, which they deserve by all means. I think it's really interesting, to see how the work goes because I'm sure that when she sees these images, she remembers very vividly how it was to be there, actually to stay there, to stay for go through years long to be with them, etc. So I think this is something that happens with photography, no? That the mediation, it's lousy, complicated in the sense that involved with reality when you see these objects, no? And I guess for the author, it gets even in a deeper level. So I think she kind of goes back and forth when this happens, and I guess we should ask her. But I guess it's really thrilling and nice to finally to be recognized because I think it's so important. When you were talking like some minutes ago, you were saying that from the first world perspective, things look so different. No? I would like to say that there's a couple of things. On the first side, I think many of our authors for years or photographers who came here were working on this idea of this exotic. So they were having this idea of the market being in the, let's say, the first world, the occidental main cities or markets, and then producing some works that were distance, saying Chile is this, and very much produced from that point of view. From some point in history, where it's a process, of course, uh, the production was more interested, the author, etc., to talking to their fellow citizens. And in that sense, the function of photography did change a little. I mean, the function didn't change. It was assumed in a different way. So we began to have books that were more interested in telling to their actual neighbors what they were thinking about, their opinions, or whatever said in photography, and then sending them abroad, etc. Because in a sense, many people from here felt that in a way they didn't belong to that world. Mm. So they started to do things that were related in a more, looking inwards in a way, and not even daring about these big markets abroad, because in a sense they didn't exist for us. We were kind of isolated from them. So what you see in that research on the Chilean photo book is very interesting in that sense as well, because it's thinking of something very local, you see. It's not to be I mean, it's not meant to be judged by somebody abroad. So it's interesting to see them in this light, because we discovered that people here found ways quite different to do things. You said, and I'm quoting you, the production is not that good, etc. We know that. I mean, we know that what our offset at that time and the kind of papers he used could or could not achieve. But what does good production mean? I mean, for us then, and I think that until today, the good means that people can see. And then we go after the qualities, blacks, the whites, the lights, the highlights, etc. So there is kind of an urgency behind these works, and I think that the past work is an example of this. It's not only about doing good pictures, and you see in the new reprint they were quite good, but it was important to show them. So even if the printing was not great, etc., you can't forget that Paz during in 1983. So she was already working in this. She did a book on photocopies. So she didn't care very much about this idea of the quality in terms of the museum, whatever, but on the urgency. So on the real, I wouldn't say real, on one of the main functions that photography may perform, at least seen from here.
Yeah. Luis, great. I think this is finally also a good statement for us, what we can take from you to cool a little bit down and look on these personal stories and take the values on a different perspective. We lost Ángeles maybe on the Bronx where more, I don't see her anymore. Maybe I would love to ask her something at least if she's working. But maybe what we can do now is, we didn't tell this story, Luis, no? But we have this little...
Oh, really?
We have this little quiz for our audience. So if you subscribe on the channel, we would like to give away and send a few copies of the Photo Researcher if you're interested. But there is one question, a very, very special one. I get it from Luis. To tell, when Paz published the book, she did a book signing on a very upper class bookstore. That's right, Luis, no? Or in a very nice environment. So she did a book signing. So the question is now, please give us a number. How many copies of the Adam's Apple book did she really sell at this book signing night? So just made your note on the YouTube channel, and we get in touch with you, and we love to send you a copy of the Photo Researcher to get into the full text of Luis. I hope shipping also needs some time. Luis is also waiting for copies of the edition. I hope it will arrive soon. I'm not sure if we will get Ángeles back. I think she's lost somewhere on the Bronx. On the Bronx kindergarten.
We have faith on her.
Yeah, and let's follow her work. She's back. She's in the car. Ángeles.
Oh, you see.
I was all the time here. I heard everything and I was listening to you, but I had to come to a car because I was running out of battery. But so I was here the whole time. But I'm glad that now you see me too.
Ángeles, you're really an adventure lady. We on the on the playground, now we in the car. It's very nice. Ángeles, will you follow the studies on this you did with the book? Will you continue this, or what is your next project you jumping on?
Well, so I'm working on 3 different projects now. So one is, and they all kind of emerge from this study. One is to look at the archive of all the visual production of women movement throughout the 20th century. So to explore, the visual archive, in magazines, in bulletins, and this starts with an exploration of that kind of visual production during the dictatorship. So to focus specifically on women movement, but what does it mean and what does it imply to do a kind of a feminist historiography of photography as a medium, right? What does it mean to explore the presence of women? What does women mean when you explore the visual archive? So kind of, that is one exploration. Then I'm working on a different project that it's related to that, but it has to do with visual production and propaganda about agrarian reform in Chile, also in the 60s and early 70s. And I'm really interested in that because I think it connects really well with the reflection I developed in the book in relation to Lonquén and to, the crimes committed by the dictatorship, and especially against campesinos, peasants, and in the south of Chile, has much to do with, of course, with
Ángeles in the final. I think we get her message. Is she coming back slowly? Oh, this is the adventure of radio. Ángeles, we are now coming to an end. Even if we don't see you in your car, I would especially thank you, Ángeles. We will follow. We will order the book for sure. There's also on the YouTube channel, Fred, you did find also like some exploration, and we will get a little bit. Are there some questions to Luis?
Not so much questions, but one of the questions just before we came to the second edition was, how do we deal with the limited access to photo books such as this one? So I posted the link to the Foundation AMA where the copy, where you can get information on the new edition on the chat. But that's a problem, and I think I have the feeling that it's a time where a lot of reprints are done. So there's an awareness that these books have to be out there, and we hope that there's publishers who dig out some of these classics to reprint them and make them accessible.
And
today.
Also really accessible and available, and not only, Luis, you know that, not only a 1,000 euro object for collectors. Yeah. So we see that the power of the photo book and the role of the photo book is much more than being just a great object in the photographic world. Then that is also like a container, a transportation object of ideas, of social aspects, of everything, what culture or politics or whatever. Ángeles is back. So you missed not that much.
Sorry, I don't. I was speaking, and then I was like, maybe I'm speaking on my own, so I don't know how much you hear, but it's okay. I don't know why I got disconnected.
So Ángeles, I like to thank you both very much. It was a pleasure. I hope we could give a little bit a view, not only on Paz Errázuriz book Adam's Apple, as well as to your publication, Ángeles, and also to discover Grandmaster Luis Weinstein's book, Black and White Objects, which is also not so easy available. Thank you to share with us and join us for our first Let's Talk session here, live from Cologne. I wish the whole audience a nice evening. I think long live the Fotobook. See you here next week. Next week's session will be at Wednesday at 7 o'clock p.m. Mid-Europe summertime. The guest will be Dr. Anja Schürmann and Professor Dr. Steffen Siegel from the Folkwang University in Essen. And we will talk and we will follow this discussion on receptions of photo books in an academic way and on the university. I will see what they do in Essen for the photo book. So let's see. I hope we did some progress. Say thank you for the great team. Frederick.
Markus.
Good job. I leave you. Good night and have a nice year.
1 second.
Yeah, 1 second for Louis.
I wanted to
you.
thank you all, guys. You're great. The question by Frederick and you, how far with photo books. I think the great thing with the Photo Book Museum is that you're doing it, guys. Through you, we can delve into photo books and get entice editors and publishers somewhere that they should do reprints, and we are all waiting for those books to be seen. Thank you very much for your invitation. We're looking forward to see you guys.
We love compliments. Thank you, Louis, and I hope we see each other soon and met Ángeles first. Good night from Cologne. Have a nice. It was a pleasure. Long live the photo book. This is the old Photobook Museum. Good night. Goodbye and see you hopefully next week.